Mia, you're back. Mia, how have you been?
Good. Excited to
Good.
be on here again.
Excellent. Well, you're the reason this all started in the first place. Back in the season one episode, I remember you and I talked about doing One Tree Hill, but then you're the one who reminded me like 8 months later that we have to do it eventually. And now I've been on a steady diet of nothing but One Tree Hill, and my mind is I'm losing it. I'm like losing my sanity as we speak. So by the time this video goes out, I'm currently watching this eighth season of the show, Mia. I'm currently watching season eight. To give you guys a hint of like an analysis video to come, it's not going well in season eight at all. I'm finding this to be a very miserable show at this point. And I wanted to get Mia back on to talk about when this show was, in my opinion, beautiful, which is the first four seasons, which it's just really weird because not really weird, but it's kind of perfect. It feels like there's a beginning, middle, and end to the first four seasons. Like most of the problems that I had with the show, the fourth season like identified and then remedied and then made sense of. It felt like the end of a novel. It felt like the end of An Unkindness of Ravens. It felt like the end of a novel.
Yeah, we already talked about season one being like the most grounded, and I was thinking about season two being like the most silly, like especially just all the little like high school drama, and then them trying to bring in like all these characters that weren't very good, like these new ones.
Felix was the worst. They could have done something with Anna eventually, but Felix was god awful. Okay, season two, though, I think season three is the silliest season, mostly because I stand by my criticism or my reading of the whole school shooting episode. Is like I don't honestly believe that One Tree Hill that the creator gave a fuck about actually engaging with like alienated and weaponized teenagers. I don't think he cared. I think that he's like, a bunch of eyes will be on this episode, so I can kill Keith, a beloved character, and get like double the publicity, double the sensationalism. Like, I don't think he cared about Jimmy Edwards or Survivor's Guild. I think that's the silliest season. When One Tree Hill jumps the shark and you just have to go with it is honestly the end of the second season where Dan gets lit on fire and drugged. You're like, okay, so this show's gonna be fucking psychotic and weird. But once you buy into that premise, then you can really roll with all of the crazy punches that happen. Season two, yeah, I like season two. I guess I like season two more than most people. The fun thing about this first watch and analysis of mine is that I don't know what the popular opinion is of like what the general consensus is of these seasons. And it wasn't until I put out my season two video that apparently liking season two is an unpopular thing to do. And I'm like, what's wrong with this season? Every other season, something incredibly dumb happens. Season two is like still kind of grounded in a way, except for a few things. Like it's not that bad. Come on, it's
Yeah,
okay.
that's I don't no, I think it's like silly, but in like a good way.
Like they get to be kids in that one, right? Like the
Yeah.
most entertaining thing to me in season two, like season four would not hit nearly as hard without season two. I had two analysis videos about season four, and I covered the first half, which like in my analysis, I say that like I cried when Peyton and Lucas finally kissed. I'm like, wow, the completion of an arc. Like we're done. We have to start another one. It's okay. He had a heart attack. His arc was over, and they had to redo it. But I was an idiot, and I remembered my second season analysis where like they compare each other to Holmes and Moriarty, and the final problem of Lucas Scott will always be Dan, his father. Wow, I'm passionate knocking things around here. But season four, the ending would not hit nearly as hard if season two didn't put so much of a focus on Lucas and Dan trying to be friends or be friendly and then turning into mortal fucking enemies by the end of the season. Each part of each season is like so necessary. I can get rid of Felix, I could get rid of Anna, some characters, but so far as Lucas, Peyton, and Dan and most of the other main characters are concerned, like everything they go through in those first four seasons is pretty damn vital. Like pretty important, but you don't realize it until the fourth season. It makes me wonder if like the writers and the showrunner like had this shit actually mapped out. Like I used to accuse the show of just throwing shit at a wall, and that might be true with, with shitty characters like Mouth, characters that no one cares about. it's like a novel approach. It's like it's literary. So I actually think this show's like way smarter than me and a lot smarter than its audience at the time. And at least for the first 4 seasons, because then it afterwards it slowly became the dumbest show that ever existed. I have to say that. That the eighth season's really bad. You guys, I'm so sorry. The eighth season is a sin. Hmm.
Yeah, I think Lucas and Dan are the best part of season two, especially. I think that's what kept me watching really, because I wasn't really interested in anything else, and it was just nice to see like Dan be such a villain.
Oh, yeah, and, like, cement himself as one, but you get those, like, sophistications. Reminds me of season 1 where Dan saved Lucas from the car accident. Like, you got humanity from Dan, but you also got, like, Lucas's vow to vanquish evil once and for all, and it's like, it's so fucking cool, and that does not belong in teenage melodrama, but it's here and it feels so good. Feels so good to be here, and then season 3 is like, uh Dan, like, committing, like, the irreversible sin. I would say the original sin of Dan Scott is rejecting Lucas, but killing his brother. That's the irreversible thing. And the thing that proves to be his undoing, really, you can say he's destroyed by guilt, but I would say that Lucas won by proving that the devil has a soul and that that soul is, like, devastating him. His soul is torturing him. So it's like proving that he actually has a conscience and, like, his weakness. Paul Johansson does not get enough credit. That guy's a fearless actor. I couldn't imagine saying half the shit he does and, like, man it, he's, like, always in a mania. He's always switching, like, every 2 seconds to a different, like, really the most intense possible emotion from every angle of the spectrum. It's wild.
I hear that he's like really professional and just like a really respectful guy to work with. So
Oh, I've heard that too. Like, I just read a bit from a later season where Danielle Ackles, who plays Rachel, she said she'd only come back for like a portion because she knew that Paul Johansson was going to be like in every scene that she was in, and she was like, I know that the showrunner in particular won't be behaving poorly in front of Paul. So he not only sounds like a pretty like respectable guy, but he sounds like a protective one and like a decent moral male figure on this show that's full of either actors who are too young to know that they're being shitheads or really abusive creatives who know that they are. This shows this show's a bit rough when like it sucks for me because every time I want to analyze it deeper, it's not like Dawson's Creek. It's not like I get a cute little anecdote, you know. It's not like I get like a funny little quip or a story or fun facts. If I'm interested at all in a episode and I read into it, I'm like, oh God, this is awful. This is so terrible to read about. It's a very difficult show to analyze, especially considering everything I read about it, about the making of it, and about the relationships between actors that I admire. It's so weird.
it's hard to like make sense of it.
Oh,
Especially
yeah.
because it does seem like a lot of it is just like made up at the last minute.
It does, but then you get something like season 4 that, like, almost
Yeah.
so much of it has to be made up at the last minute, but the overall, like, the broad strokes, like, I have to believe that the writers knew that Lucas and Peyton belonged to each other and that Lucas would beat Dan. I have to believe that was thought about, that was considered. Maybe everything else just accidentally fell into place. Like by the end of season 4, I don't think there are too many loose ends. And it's not just those 3 characters who go through a huge amount of change and introspection. Like Peyton, we haven't really talked about her too much, but she, oh my God, she every time Jake enters the frame, which is near the end of like seasons, like the end of season 2, the end of season 3, I it hurts it so much. Like it hurts it so much. But she goes through so much growth. But not only those 3, but Brooke, Nathan, and Haley have complete arcs, like complete ones. No character changes more than Nathan, like arguably. Like he ends up being uh, the most like traditionally likable character, which does make him kind of boring in later seasons. But for the first 4, it's wonderful seeing this arrogant basketball player turned into this like loving husband and father and super sensitive guy who is just as emotional as Lucas, if not more, because Lucas has the darker intensity to him. Same with Peyton. Those two have a darker intensity that everyone else lacks. So, what did you
Um,
think of season 4? Because I can't talk about any previous season now without mentioning 4.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. There was some things that I didn't like, obviously, like
Confess, what didn't you like?
well, the whole like Derek storyline, and then like how he has to come
That's
back
fine.
on the prom night.
That is fine. That is great. I will defend that. I will defend that completely. The prom night thing where, okay, that's not a great, it's a great moment for Peyton, but a much better one for Brooke because in that moment, I think Brooke is a narcissist until the end of season 4, where she's punished a lot. But I honestly believe that Brooke would have died for Peyton in that Psycho Derek episode. And I'm like, I never would have expected this amount of like heroism from this character who I sadly thought little of for a while until those moments. Psycho Derek, okay, Psycho Derek compared to all the psychos that came later is like fucking Shakespearean, okay? Psycho Derek is fine. I think he's fine. I think it's really, really cruel to do to Peyton, but the thing about all the punishments is that they're like leading to something, or it's a part of that idea that having hope in the face of hopelessness, you know? They say it about Lucas a few times, like believing in the idea, even though like life has given you no reason to have that kind of faith. um, if they didn't kiss at episode 9, if they didn't end up together like right then and there, I might have like given up like emotionally. I might have just become numb because yeah, Psycho Derek is really pushing like the limit of the amount of punishment I can see these kids take. But when I saw that accomplishment, I was like, nice. I even forgave the heart attack that Lucas suffers immediately afterwards because I'm like, we have to start again. And of course, that allowed the showrunner to like insert himself into the drama to like give Peyton music recommendations, which is really giving you the theme of the show, which is, do you take the non-believers? Because I'm a non-believer. That's probably the main question of the show. And he just made it very literal and I paid attention. It was cool. Psycho Derek was fine. The only part I didn't like was its handling of, it might still be a truthful handling, but its handling of the sex tape that Brooke and Nathan had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that I found disagreeable because like Brooke is assaulted and like hated, and Nathan just has to make sure that Haley's okay with him. Brooke is like she gets punched in the face by Peyton and like screamed at by this like it's insane. Brooke has to nearly get killed by Psycho Derek in order to be forgiven for that sex tape, whereas Nathan just has to like be nice to his wife for like 2 days or 2 hours. I don't know. I thought that was like a bit weird, but it was worth it made sense at the end. And every kid got to have a victory at the end. They all stood there on the river court and none of them were in the hospital. None of them were almost dead. None of them were heartbroken. They were happy to be alive and they existed. And that is the happiest ending. It's a happier ending than Dawson's Creek ever had. I'll tell you that. Everyone was so happy. So take that.
I was like bummed at, I don't know, because yeah, season 4 just ends on such a good note, and
Mhm.
they're gonna like Brooke and Peyton are gonna go to LA. And
Yeah,
then I forgot, like you told me about the time jump, but I forgot that it happens like immediately after. So I was like, damn it.
I know. Like that goes along with what you were saying and what I initially thought. Like they're just coming up with stuff on the spot because nothing about the ending of season 4 makes you think for a second that we're not going to see college. And me, the clown that I am, I did my season 4 analysis and I'm like, man, I'm looking forward to college. And I talked briefly about the other shows like Dawson's Creek and Buffy and Veronica Mars that I like that went to college and had to kind of change things up. Then yeah, they skip college specifically entirely. And they go 4 years later.
I
It feels like the finale of Dawson's Creek, like the final episode, but like for the rest of the show.
I know. I wonder if they just didn't wanna go through having to figure out where everyone was gonna be, like, what colleges and stuff like that, like, they were probably just,
Yeah,
"Fuck it, like, we'll just make them older."
that has to be it. There are a couple of reasons why not, because I think like postmodern television works best in coming of age because like high school is that great equalizer, a privileged kid could be sitting right next to a career criminal and like they're forced to inhabit the same space and like build the same culture together. But college, that's where everyone's like separate. And Dawson's Creek didn't really do this too well either, with Joey at like the fancy, really fancy college and Pacey working in a hot kitchen. Like they didn't find that balance either. Almost impossible. So I think One Tree Hill is like, first of all, we don't want them all in different states. We want them all in Tree Hill. The show's called One Tree Hill. They got to be in Tree Hill. So I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons. I would love to read, like, I'm sure there were alternate ideas. I'm sure they came up with several season ideas that were like, what if they did go to college? But I will say that I like seasons 5 and 6, but once Chad and Hillary leave, that's all. That's there hasn't been something great since them. But I also didn't know, slight spoilers, that like when they left, basically Dan's gone too. So my three favorite characters are just like not involved too
Oh.
much. Well, Dan's like there, but he was only in 1 or 2 episodes of season 8. So like he's basically not in it. Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
forgot about
Those are my three favorite characters. And I'm like, it was hard enough saying bye to Chad and Hillary, but now for some reason, like, oh my God, everyone's just so like, in the words of Abby Morgan, they're so fucking sweet, and being sweet is really boring. I love seasons 1 through 4. It's just so complicated, and every dynamic between characters is kind of incredible. The performances are wonderful, and the performers come into their own. Like Sophia Bush is fucking hilarious and really emotive near the end of it. She gets hilarious, I think, it's season 2 when she starts to live with Lucas, right, for a little while.
Yeah, yeah, that was a
And
good
like
time.
his his mom's like, "Hey, we gotta do some chores around here. You can maybe mop up the floor." And then Sophia Bush has this line delivery that's one of the funniest fucking things I ever heard, where she's like, "But I'm not a cleaning lady. Like I can't do it, but it's beautiful. It's ridiculously good." And Hillary Burton has to go to some really, really intense places. Haley has to completely like hurt the audience's feelings in season 2 and then win it back by season 3. Like she has to be so much more likable than she ever was before, because she not only needs Nathan's forgiveness, she needs the audience's as well, because she went on tour with Chris Keller, and then Nathan has to become the opposite of who he was. Everyone becomes a different character except really for Chad. Chad was always the most truthful person. He went through a lot of change, but season 4 Lucas and season 1 Lucas would still recognize each other. The others, not too much.
Like, he had things happen to him, but he didn't, like, change his personality or who he
No, the only
was.
thing that threatened that was Dan. Like seeing Lucas in season 4 with a gun pointed at, like he has that gun pointed at Dan. Like, I'm like, oh shit, Lucas, this could be the end for you. Like the end of everything I love about you. But he was great. One of the best postmodern brats I've ever seen. I just wanted to have you back to talk about the first 4 seasons to remind myself that I think it is beautiful. One Tree Hill does make mistakes, but like those mistakes somehow with the first 4 seasons like add to it. Like there are incomplete arcs. There are characters they gave up on. I brought up Rachel. I love Rachel. Rachel is not a fucking character, really. She's like a million different ones in one, which makes sense by season 4 because she goes through her closet and all the different schools she was kicked out of, and everyone calls her plastic, which is really dehumanizing. She's had to redesign and be reshaped so many times that like she probably doesn't even have a real personality outside of narcissism with like a little edge of sincerity. Like it's there, but it's an incomplete arc every time for Rachel, and I still think it's fine. I still think it's great. Mouth
Yeah,
is a bullshit character though.
I know. I got so tired of him. Is he in the later seasons?
Oh, he's still here at season 9.
Oh, it's weird.
Like, Mouth is in it way more than Chad Michael Murray ever was, and it makes me want to die. But Mouth's big victory in season 4 was sexually assaulting Brooke at a party. It was like walking up to her and forcing a kiss on her and getting like cheers for it. Am I right? That's how that happened.
Yeah, that was gross.
And then when you look into the character of Mal, just like I said earlier, you do any research and it's the wrong decision. And you're like, the creator of the show said, in high school, I was Mouth. And so of course they had Mouth sexually harass and assault Brooke in a moment of victory. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with any of us for not like seeing this from a mile away? I love though season 4 when all the girls do the Spice Girls like choreographed dance. Like it
Oh,
was
yeah.
amazing. It was so good. What about the clean teens? Talk about Stephen Coletti.
Oh my god, it's so weird.
I love them.
And they wear those shirts all the time. Like, there's, like, a scene, like, where Brooke's like, "Hey, where's your shirt?"
Yeah. Rachel was really into the shirts. She's like- but then again, I think that's part do you take to non-believers because I'm a non-believer. Because like, what's Brooke is interested in Chase, but also in like maybe not the sincerity of the clean teens, but in the idea that like she's given herself away to so many people without like consideration. She probably wants something meaningful. Doesn't mean she wants to be a clean teen, but she wants to maybe think that sex is something that's more important than how it's been treated upon her before. I don't know. I think there's something there that makes sense.
They end up having
Chase,
sex? I
yeah,
can't remember.
do Chase and Brooke have sex?
Yeah.
Yep,
No
for 30
idea.
seconds, and they bring that up nonstop. Chase, over the course of a few seasons, I've grown to like Chase. He's actually funny. The actor is actually funny. But in season 4, he's just so underwhelming and has like no personality, but
I know.
eventually I like him. I like Shelly, the girl whom Mouth um
Oh,
basically bullied into sleeping with him. Like it's not technically bullying into sleeping with him, but he kind of did. But it's
yeah.
okay. That's the showrunner in high school, everybody. No
Mhm.
big deal. I like Shelley. Skills had an interesting moment at the very end of season 4 when he's looking at the factory on the rooftop after Haley does an amazing Katie Holmes from Dawson's Creek impression. He's like, see that factory? If I don't get into college, that's where I'm going. That's like a touching moment from Skills, who's a character who's definitely underdeveloped, but it's really awesome when he gets into college and then Nathan doesn't, and their roles are reversed, and it's like that's how far the status quo has been changed just by Lucas Scott telling like Peyton, I'll be seeing you. Like that's how much changed from one thing. And I like that's extraordinary to me. I think the music is mostly really good. Everything hits me in the face like nostalgia. Like I see Jack's Mannequin on a stage and I'm like, what the fuck? Really? This is so awesome. This is great. Oh my God. Fucking Pete Wentz was an actual character as Pete Wentz. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
How he's, like, in a limo outside her house.
Like how popular were Fallout Boy? Swear to God, wow. On a list of Peyton's boyfriends will always be Pete Wentz from Fallout Boy. That's ridiculous to me. Um, Peyton went through so much. I think Lucas went through more, mostly because he can have a heart attack at any time, and that heart attack prevents him from playing the sport that he loves. He gets his heart broken all the time. His father tries to kill him, those sorts of things. He loses his father figure and uncle. But Peyton is really close to that. I mean, her adopted mom dies, her bio mom finds her and then dies.
Yeah.
Psycho Derek. Oh yeah, heartbroken too in a bunch of different ways. It's just that she doesn't have like a ticking time bomb inside of her chest. That's the only true difference there. But
Yeah,
this
her having
show,
to find her biological mom, like, dead.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
bad.
good God. Good God, that is so harsh. That is so harsh and unnecessarily cruel. Because for a while, until season 4 started to reward the characters, I'm like, this is some sort of kink. This is like a kink. They're just punishing all of these kids for like every good thing that happens, bam, a bad thing, a terrible thing. even in season 4, but I forgave it because the moment of victory was so good between Peyton and Lucas kissing each other. But then, yeah, he has a heart attack right afterwards, and pregnant Haley gets hit by a fucking car. And then you think Nathan murdered a man. Like, it gets really mad for a second. But that moment of victory was so good. That moment of victory was so good, though. Like, I legit cried. Like, it was up there with, like, a legendary romantic moment when they win. They actually win that fucking basketball championship, and he sees her through the confetti, through the crowd, and is like. And then you brought this up when we were talking about it before. Like Brooke lets him go, so she has a huge character moment too, like a moment of liberation, of truthfulness, and then they walk up to each other. It's always been you, the person who I want by my side when my dreams come true, that sort of thing. And yeah, dude, there were tears in my eyes for sure. And that was a perfect moment, perfectly filmed, perfectly written, perfectly acted. And it paid off so much so that I was still too happy to criticize the show at the end of it for the heart attack and the car crash and the murder. It's fine. And then at the very end of the show, everyone is happy and everyone seems to be on their way to something better. And that's wild. I would never have thought that One Tree Hill would do that. Like, and Dan is in prison,
After
and
everything that happens.
yes, Dan is humiliated the most. He tries to kill himself and he can't. It's almost like he's cursed. Like it breaks. The thread breaks, the rope breaks, whatever. His makeshift noose breaks. And then Karen spits on the glass in his face. Like everything worked out. It was wild. And season 5 and 6 have a lot of good parts in it, but currently I'm in the middle of season 8. Season 7 sucked, and season 8 is worse. So,
I remember not liking like how much Haley and Nathan's kid is in the show.
oh god, he didn't fuck me up. Like the 5th season was fine, and then oh my god, he's like the most annoying character possible. I honestly think they're doing Nathan wrong. So, because Nathan is acting like Superman or something, like he can do no wrong. It's fucking weird. But Jamie is very annoying. Very, very annoying in the most stereotypical way possible. Like he gives people the advice that adults can't say. Like it's so bad. It's such a bad trope. I think that the show lost it when Chad and Hillary left, especially when Hillary left, because the showrunner shows up again as the same character to give Hillary Burton advice in the show. And I think that clearly Peyton was his favorite character. And then she decided to leave the show and her contract was up. He offered her a raise and she still left. So I'm like, I think that the showrunner had an idea for like another seasons 1 through 4, like another beginning, middle, and end. And then in the middle of the narrative, he lost his 2 main actors. So he had to reshape the whole thing and he couldn't do it or he didn't want to. Like it's soulless right now. When he loses Hillary, that's when it's gone. And he was cruel to her, but you know how fucking abusers can be. But when he Chad and Hillary
So
without them, it's gone.
does she leave in season 5?
6.
Oh, okay.
So we get a full 6 seasons with them, but the show just keeps going on. I know that Chad has one more episode in him. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I've seen online like he's in an episode of 9. So looking forward to it, I guess.
Oh, did they get to the part yet where James Vanderbeek shows up?
I saw that. Yep. And like he makes so many nods to Dawson's Creek and he's good in it, actually. He is good. I like James Vanderbeek on it. I like seeing Dawson Leary and Lucas Scott in the same frame. I like that. It's just like I like that so much. Well, he has that one moment where he leans into Lucas and he's like, "It's about who ends up together because I know that fans only care about who ends up together." Like he says stuff like that. He's like a nightmare version of Dawson, but he's pretty cool. He's pretty fun in it. He looks like he's having a lot of fun. I can say that at least. I love that you got me interested in this show again. Like I knew about it before you, but you're the one who's like, I want to do another video with you, and you're a really good friend of mine. So I wanted to talk with you again in like an analytical capacity and something like this. You know, we message each other while we're watching these things, and it's fun and it's cool. And I like that kind of like friendship or relationship. It's fun. So I wanted to thank you for bringing this show to my attention again. Because I fucking dived deep into it. It's my summer project. It's the only thing that I'm doing all summer long.
Yeah, it definitely goes hand in hand with like Dawson's Creek, I think, with like knowing that it was in the same like location too.
Yeah. Oh, that's something I would love to do that. I would love to go to Wilmington and go to like the river court and then go to some Dawson's Creek locations, like the exterior of the Leary House, like those
Yeah, like
places that are there.
that's why it would be cool to if I could win that like One Tree Hill the contest thing from their podcast
Are they
because
going there?
um you like they fly you to Wilmington and you get
What?
like a 2 day stay in a hotel and they give you like a $500 Visa gift card. And then the cool part is that you like get to be on a Zoom call with them and they'll tell you all the places they used to hang out there and they'll tell you
Oh
like
my
where to
God.
go.
Dude, that's too much time in North Carolina. I remember Monica Keena left Dawson's Creek because she hated being in North Carolina and wanted to be in LA. Now I'm imagining Sophia Bush hanging out in North Carolina for 9 years. Like that's a long fucking time to be in NC, bro. It's
Yeah.
a cool state. I've been to like Asheville a few times, but I couldn't imagine the environment from LA to Wilmington must be insane. But maybe it kept people like Chad Michael Murray a bit more grounded because maybe. I, I, I do love this show. And even at its worst, it's still really interesting because like Dawson's Creek doesn't make too many mistakes. Like it's really, really good. One Tree Hill, it actually makes some real fuck ups. It fucks up a few times. And that makes it like more interesting to analyze, in my opinion. Dawson's Creek has more interesting things to say, but One Tree Hill is like you can test the limitations of coming of age like romance. You can test the limitations of romantic cinema or romantic television because this show definitely goes there and then goes further as a mistake, but you can like pinpoint where it is that the show tries to exceed limitations and fails, or like when it tries something that doesn't work, which makes it even more interesting because when they succeed, they're still going at full velocity, full speed, and they end up accomplishing it. And it's stuff that I wouldn't have imagined being possible. Like I was on the edge of my seat by the end of the Dan Scott storyline of season 4. If you had asked me when season 1 started and you had told me what happened to Dan at the end, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. But in the moment in season 4, I'm on the edge of my seat going, come on, Lucas, you can do this, buddy.
I
I
know.
believe in you. But yeah, it's a wild show. But yeah, emotions should be amplified in situations like that, right? Like in coming of age. That's another forgiveness. When they're teenagers, you can have amplified emotions and it's more forgivable. If you jump 4 fucking years and they're in their early to mid 20s, it doesn't really work anymore. If they're if everything is still exaggerated and hyperbolic, that's another issue, another mistake that we can study. But
Yeah, I'm wondering what the storylines even are because I really can't remember.
oh, please, please go on. Watch it. I've done it. I've done it. You should have to do it too.
Yeah.
By season 8, no one cares. That's the problem. But I heard with season 9, I heard that like they knew it was their last one. So there was a sense of finality to it, of climax. So maybe that'll make it better. Because in season 8, they're just like fucking lollygagging, just wandering around doing nothing. Like Chase is the biggest character. Like
Really?
that's how far it fell. And Chase is the best character of season 8. That's how far it fell. And
Wow,
he
yeah.
doesn't even have a complete arc. So I just got to be real with you. Sorry to anyone watching this who loves season 8. You are alone. I refuse to believe that people actually like the season that I'm watching. But seasons 1 through 4, man, I would yeah, it's some of the best stuff that I've seen in this format. Like it's beautiful. It's beautiful television. It feels like a novel. It's insane. Step aside The Wire. Fucking One Tree Hill nailed this novel approach. This literary one fucking first try. Nailed it.
Yeah, I can't handle many shows like that, but I can definitely, like, tolerate One Tree Hill. I don't know why.
because it's beautiful.